are go. Roger that, ground control. Tower, we are go for launch, over.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm joined by my good friend and extra special guest today, all the way from the other side of the world, Mr. Sam Hunter of Homesearch. How are you doing, Sam?
Hello, David. I'm doing very well, thank you. You're a very good friend. That's very kind.
Well, yeah, we met, I don't know, what, 2, 3 years ago? No,
We're
more
going to
than
tell this
that.
story again.
Yeah, we met. It was across a crowded room. Jerry Lyons was there. It was a Starbucks in the Grosvenor Hotel in London. I remember it well. And back then, when we talked about prospecting, nobody was really talking about off-market prospecting. It wasn't a thing as such. The technology and the data hadn't yet been built and harnessed correctly. And so really, when you're talking to agents, they had only one option at that point, which was to go after what we used to call the low-hanging fruit, which is all the stuff, all the junk, let's face it, that's on the market that has been either overpriced or has been troublesome, sales have fallen through, whatever it may be. Sometimes that low-hanging fruit turns out to be a bit of a poison chalice. So tell us about your slightly different perspective on this.
Right. So I think maybe it's unfair to say that off-market prospecting didn't exist. Thanks for lobbing that one to me to sort of try and hit out the park. People used to do leaflet dropping all the time. People would do 2020 campaigns all the time. Agents would go door knocking all the time. People would walk into their office at one point in time and talk about houses and actually ask for help instead of just sitting on Rightmove for 6 months before they spoke to anybody, right? So that was all off-market prospecting, if you want to call it that. I think the difference that's happened over the last few years, particularly with what we've done, is you don't have to send 10,000 leaflets to get one valuation. You send 100 letters to the right addresses at the right time, saying the right thing from the right people to get 2 or 3 opportunities at any one time. And that's been the real fundamental difference. And it's they're the addresses that are not being, they don't have 5 or 6 letters in their letterbox every week that all kind of look the same from similar estate agents saying, we see you've been on the market for 6 weeks. They're the people who get a letter and it says something like, Mr. and Mrs. Mintz are desperate to look in your neighborhood for a semi-detached house that has 4 bedrooms and they've got up to £575,000 to spend. And someone reads that and they go, well, we've got a 4-bedroom semi-detached house in North Manchester and we thought ours was only worth 550. We'd 100% look at 575. And it has messages in there like, would you invite them to view your home? Not, do you want a free, no obligation market appraisal because we're in your street next week? So it's always been around. It's just got a hell of a lot more targeted and more specific and actually more valuable to the reader, the seller, potential seller, than it ever has been in the past. And that's the exciting thing.
So to get a little bit touchy-feely and up close and personal, you and I had a chat the other day and we swapped some text messages after that. And if I'm not telling tales out of school, one of the things that I did was I thanked you for changing the narrative. And you said, what do you mean? And really what I meant by that was the sort of way that you're approaching prospecting or focusing on the buyer as that really key ingredient to sort of generating instructions and keeping sales moving and putting people together. That's what we need as an industry after 2 or 3 years of, let's face it, chuck it at a portal and it'll go. Yeah,
exactly.
So
you make a really good point there. Yeah, well, I think you make a really, and I'm going to change my words. You make a good point, but you make a really important point. And I always tell this story, and I apologize in advance if you and I have had this conversation as David from Kerfuffle and Sam from Homesearch before. But when I started in estate agency, it was like the back end of the GFC. So 2009, nothing was selling. No one wanted to list their house. Like it was pretty doom and gloom. And that's literally why I am like boring but consistent now, because you had to be. My job then as a guy's PA was to make 100 phone calls every day to try and book one valuation. That was a success, right? And I remember back then, my first lesson other than database or die was focus on the buyers. But it was a 2-part lesson, right? So I worked for this guy called Bruce. He was like the best agent in the office. I was his PA. Kathy, who owned the office, said database will die and focus on buyers. And Bruce took me aside and he's like, you've only heard half the story. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? He said, yes, you got to focus on the buyers. But the reason you do that is because every single seller in our database is going to start as a buyer first. And he's like, so if you want to help them and they're already thinking about moving, not thinking about selling for months before, and if you call them up and say, hey, what do you want to buy? Instead of, do you want to sell your house? They're going to give you a real answer instead of just telling you where to go. And then chances are, if you keep making those 100 phone calls every day, you're going to make them and people are going to start answering their phone back to you and they're going to know your name and then they're going to know my name. And so I remember our first 6 months, we listed 2 and sold 1. Our second 6 months, we listed 40 and I think we sold 27. So all from, if you could live anywhere, where would you want to live? And this was back before like PropTech was a thing, but it was CRMs. There was no data in 2009, right? It was hard work and a smile got you most places. And it still does these days. It's just if you've got something cool in your pocket and that does a bit of work for you as well, it helps.
But it's going to take a real sort of shift in mindset, because I think that if you were to turn around to agents, say sort of 12 or 18 months ago, in the throes of this kind of heavy market that they've had, and turn around to them and say, hey, we need to change the narrative with our buyers. We need to be a little bit more understanding to people who aren't currently on the market. If you speak to buyers about their experience over the past 2 years, they will tell you, by and large, it's been very negative, because when they call the agent, if they're not literally sat there with a pot of gold in their hands going, I've got all the cash right here, I'm under offer, I've got it, I'm a cash buyer, or I've got a sale agreed, the agents would be very, in some cases, even rude and just say, look, we're not going to be
You're not proceedable. What does that mean?
Not proceedable. Now, you're talking to an agent that's been doing this for 25 years. Had you told me in my first 5 years of agency that phrase, not proceedable, I would have looked at you like you landed from Mars, because 99% of all the business I wrote were people who were not proceedable. They had no idea where it was particularly that they were going to go. They knew where they wanted to be in terms of area. They may have known the roads, they might know their budget, but they were on a genuine search and they needed some help. But they also needed an agent that was willing to do the hard work and put those chains together. And I think if we're entering into an environment where we can put that focus back on the buyers, but we can also do a little bit of that hard work with some clever technology, I think it's a real winner. And it helps also to rewrite that kind of relationship that we've had with buyers, where we can actually become their trusted advisor rather than the gatekeeper that stands between them and a new house.
I think that's an estate agent's core product, is trust.
Yeah.
Without that, you don't have any business. So no matter what fee you charge or how much you drop your pants, right, there's an element of trust. That's why you're getting that signature. If there wasn't, you could do it for free and they still wouldn't list with you. There are literally estate agents who offer, we'll sell your house for free, and they don't get every instruction in markets because there's not any element of trust there. So never forget that that's your core product. In terms of going back to changing the narrative, and I really like that as a saying, and that's why I wanted to understand that a little bit more, because I'll borrow that and say it 3 times and claim it as my own.
It's yours, my friend.
It comes back to that adage of like, friend of your show and ours, Stephen Brown says, like, prospecting works best when it feels like a service. So if you're thinking about, I've got to get another instruction, what can I do? Well, call somebody up who wants to buy a house and then try and find them the house to buy and sell that one, list that one. Because chances are, at any one time in the UK, right, there's 2 million households who want to move house. Good market, bad market. There's 2 million people, 2 million families, whatever you want to call them, sitting at home, thumbing through Rightmove every night going, well, if we found the right one. Now imagine if estate agents were like, wow, there's 2 million people here who can help me with my prospecting. And 50% of them will probably give me an instruction in return. So I get an instant win and I get a long-term win as well. And then I can leverage that and capitalize that. Now that does require a bit of a change in narrative. And it does require some relatively intelligent technology, unless you want to be going out and sending out 50,000 leaflet drops every month that just say the same thing, which does not work as well does work, doesn't work as well as being super targeted. And that's where we've got to talk to agents and help them understand consumer behavior, because you've got to capitalize on what they're already doing and like work your way into that process. It's like back in the day, you said you've been doing this for 25 years, right? 25 years ago, if someone wanted to buy a house or sell a house, they walked into your office, they opened the door to Normie & Co. The bell rang, everyone stood up, right? Bowed to them. And he said, "Hi, how can we help you?" And they said, "We're thinking about moving." He said, "Great, sit down. Tell me what you're looking for." It was never, "Tell me about your house," and I'll scribble it down, right? It was always, "Tell me what you're looking for." You serve the need first. Service leads to sales, right? Old cliche saying, but it's very, very true. Technology just scales that for the modern age. People don't walk in anymore. They sit on Rightmove for 6 months. Then they inevitably call 3 agents out and they pick the cheapest one. That's not good for them, and it's really not good for the agents. So you've got to give them a reason to use you and engage with you sooner. And helping them find is that you just happen to be prospecting at the same time.
And I think if you can change the way that you deal with your buyers and the members of the public who aren't on the market yet, and you can offer them a service and a helping hand. To throw in another phrase, we talked about unproceedable, or not proceedable, which is something which has just been invented over the past sort of 3 or 4 years. But that other phrase that I love best, which is a modern phrase, the uncontested valuation, that is the key. Because really, if I can get to know you, Sam, and know about what you need in terms of houses, you feel that I'm helping you. You feel that I'm doing everything I can to find you every house that's on the market and every house that's not on the market. I don't need to go anywhere else. I don't need my Rightmove. I don't need Zoopla. I don't need anybody. I need David. I need David to get me through those doors. And in turn, when I come to see your house and I say to you, "Right, Sam, you've got a great house. My fee is 2%. This is what we're going to do for you. And by the way, we're with you every step of the journey whilst you find your new home." They're not likely to call out 3 other people at the same time, because why would they need to? I'm serving the very basic need that they have. And I think that this is a trick that, and knowing estate agents as I do, 99% of us are going to miss it or wake up to it too late. And this is an opportunity to get to it now, whilst the market is perhaps changing its dynamics slightly.
You're right about the market moving, and actually being able to stand out is very, very easy at the moment, because most of the people who are actually still thinking about making a move have been for a while and have probably had a pretty average experience. So to again, let's use your words, to flip that narrative and to say, "Hey, it's David. Talk to me about what you're looking for, because I actually want to go and help you find it." That's what I do. Like not every, but a lot of estate agents in the UK have something like "since 1904" on their door. And then underneath it says "matching people and property," or something very similar, right? We know property's about people, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But for the last 20 years, and particularly the last 2 years, it's been putting properties on Rightmove.
Do you know what? 100%. We've been proper spoiled over the last 3 years, because
the world has been. Well, real estate agents all over the world have
all
been.
I knew is that all I have to do is win the instruction, and it doesn't matter how I win it. As long as I've got it, I can sell it. That was the narrative sort of 12 months ago, 2 years ago. And I think that's starting to change, because we are seeing stuff that sits on the market for longer. We're seeing more price reductions, those telltale signs. Listen, the newspaper headlines write themselves at the moment, and we all know that the media love to sort of gorge themselves on negativity. But really, if we're just going to stay realistic about the market, I think there is some growth there. People still need to move. The reasons why people need to move are not going anywhere. And the basic fact of it is, we have more people than we have houses to house them at the moment. So that supply and demand is always going to be there. But let me focus back onto these homes and ask you some more cynical questions, right?
Okay.
So at the very basics, people who are motivated, right? The motivated sellers, wouldn't they be on the market already?
Most people who are on the market have been motivated for a long time. So if you think about somebody's like customer journey, which may mean nothing to some people watching this and others, Going on the market, so getting your photos taken, putting it in showroom condition, popping a sign out the front is one of the last steps in that process. There's a few to go, which are pretty painful, and there's probably about another 6 months worth of activity after that till actually get keys to the next place. But there's between 6 and 12 months of activity before that. The whole point of like helping somebody prospect, or you prospecting any homes that are not on the market, is twofold. One, it tests the motivation of all those people who are getting that letter, and it's not a typical "we've got to buy for your house." It's incredibly specific. We train and suggest and continue to reinforce to all of our clients that the way in which direct mail works really well is that it's from a person, about a person, to a person. So it's Sam from Hunter Estate Agents. Wish I could call myself Hunters, but I can't. Right. So it's Sam from Hunters Estate Agents writing a letter about Mr. and Mrs. Mintz to every 4-bedroom semi-detached house up to £575,000. That's over 1,200 square foot in and around Prestwich. There's 140 of them, and that's it. We know there's 12,000 homes in around there, but we're only going to 140. 140 of those people read that. They're all owner occupied. None of them have bought in the last couple of years, so they haven't capitalized or they haven't paid for that extra equity that everyone's made. And it's a very simple message. Mr. and Mrs. Mintz want to buy your house. Their mortgage is approved. Their place is on the market with us. They're a valued client. They would love to view your home. You know, if you're interested, and we always say language is everything. So we don't say if you want to sell your house, it's if you'd like to invite the Mintzes to view your home, let us know.
And I have to tell you something. That 25-year experience, I've written more than 1 or 2 letters in my time.
Yeah.
And some of them, they're just the usual stuff of, oh, you've been on the market for 6 weeks already. I hope you're doing well. I would have expected by now you're under offer and on your way. All that normal stuff, which, let's face it, it doesn't impress me. It ain't going to impress a vendor. And they've had 6 other letters like that. The only letter I ever got a consistent response to was, Mr. and Mrs. Hunter are looking for a house. They think, you know, that your road would be the road that they want to be on. They have a budget of approximately this. If you're in any way interested in having that conversation, let's talk. The phone always rings. And there's two things that happen. You either get a viewing out of it or an instruction, but you would always get a conversation about value, because that people are always curious as to, everything has a price, right? My house is for sale. It's not on the market, but officially we all know that it's for sale as long as you hit the right sort of figure. So if you walked in today and offered me 750 grand for my house,
you're moving.
Well, I'd have a very difficult conversation with Mrs. Mintz tonight, but yeah, we'd be moving. But that's it. Everything has a figure, and I think that's the simplicity of our industry. Sometimes that's what it comes down to, and those are the buttons that need to be pushed.
There's 2 points there. Can I expand on that, or are we going to run out of time?
You can. No, go for it.
Right. First point. If you are sending those letters to properties that are on the market, the one that works best is, you're on the market, you're probably looking for a house to move to. Where do you want to live? We'll help you find everything, not just what's on Rightmove.
Yeah.
So you're repeating that service. It's not you've been on for so long. It's not you've had a price. They know that. What you don't want to do is repeat their pain, because then you're just rubbing it in. You're being an asshole, right? Help them. Just help them. Offer a good service. They don't need to know that that's your core prospecting that's being taken care of, but you're helping them. The second part is, you're right about getting those conversations. Yes, you may get a viewing. Yes, you may get a valuation, but everyone's going to be like, you think my house is really worth 750? And you can say, we've had 2.5 years of incredible growth. You know, I wouldn't want to put a finger on what your house is worth until I actually had a look at it. Secondly, if your house was worth 750 or even more, where would you want to live? Because part of what we do with that letter is we help everybody move.
Yeah.
Can I send you an idea of all the houses that you might want to live? How many we know about? Suddenly their motivation's gone from 1 to 4. It's not a 10 out of 10, which is they've reduced their price 3 times because they've been on the market 6 weeks and they've bought elsewhere and they're under a lot of pressure. They got a bridging loan, but it's not a 1. And so you're slowly getting them where you need to be through service, not through pressure or bullshit or anything like that. It's just good old fashioned estate agents matching people and property since bloody 1921 or whatever I said before.
How much more simple can you get? That is
Yeah.
what we were born.
Talk to people and help them.
It's
Jeez,
what we were born to do. Now I'm cheating, and I'm also a little bit excited, so I'm going to get into this. Homesearch have got a fantastic new e-guide to off-market prospecting. I've just got a copy of it. We're going to be making it available for download. I know that you guys are as well. It is available to everybody, absolutely free of charge. You don't even need to use Homesearch. You can just use the valuable knowledge that's in there, and I'd encourage everybody to look at it because it will open your eyes to a completely different way of approaching prospecting, and perhaps as a service that actually works and helps promote your business as well. So that's available, but I'm more excited by what comes next. I'm going to leave
I think
it.
they get that through you, right? That's the
They-
plan. You guys are
they're going to get that, but
releasing that
well, so I've been
exclusively.
I've been sent a copy this morning, and I've got somebody beavering away in the background. So we're going to have an exclusive download link from that. It'll take you straight through to it. You'll pop your details in there and be able to download it straight away. Read it. It's not that long a book. It's very well presented. We're talking sort of 8 to 9
It's not that
pages.
long a book. Very good.
It's 8 or 9 pages, right? But the bottom line is there's a happy ending to the story,
Yeah.
which and I believe honestly, if you were just to sort of take 2 or 3 of the tips in that book and just start to incorporate that into what you do on a daily basis, it will change the way that you have and the quality of those conversations that you're having with customers. And I think that is the key. If we want to change the way that our industry is viewed, and you don't just want to be that board chasing shyster estate agent, but you want to be actually that person within your community that knows all the houses, all the roads, all the areas, and will try and get you your dream home and work for you, that's a customer for life. And
100%.
yeah,
And that's where you really start to change things. Like we sit here all the time, and you know, I've made no secret of the fact that the whole point of building Homesearch was to improve the industry. And that's like, some people will look at that and be like, of course he's going to say that, he wants our business. But that's the reality of it. If everyone, or actually if the majority of agents got better, there's probably a few agents that should just leave and go and do something else. But if the majority of agents got better, it genuinely does get better for everybody, the consumer and the industry. And that's like, that needs leadership, not just from us, but from loads of other suppliers, loads and loads of other agents as well, from big companies that make 80% profit margins, need to pull their fingers out and do some good stuff for the industry as well. You know, it's going to take an army, but that's what we've all got to be working towards.
I think it's superb, and I see agents every day improving the level of the customer service that they're offering, and the customer journey and the customer experience. So once we've got your signature on a piece of paper and you're going to become a client, we treat you with absolute respect and we roll out that red carpet. This is about doing that several stages in advance so that you're more likely to get to that red carpet. So definitely read this e-guide. All the links to it are together with this video clip and available everywhere online. And there is something else. And when I saw this, it genuinely blew my mind. And that's talking for somebody who gets to see an awful lot of prop tech every day. So Sam, I'm going to hand over to you on this one.
Thank you. I was going to say to you, actually, like to pull the curtain back, just to say not this whole conversation, but we did a dry run of this bit because I was like, I want to show you something that I was planning on launching with you guys. And you were like, okay, cool. And Dave and I have known each other for a long time, and he tells it as it is. And I just wanted his feedback, and it was pretty positive, which is cool. So I'm still like nervous now because it's the first time that we've really put this out there, and it's been a lot of work for us over the last nearly a year. We're actually wrapping this conversation up soonish, so that we can go and do an internal launch for Homesearch for everybody, just to say thank you for all the work and like probably loss of fingernails from typing code for the last 9 months non-stop.
It certainly looks so. What I know about it is it certainly looks like a lot of hard work's gone into it. What I particularly love about it, before you show it, is that I think there is nothing like a visual demonstration for a for a prospective seller in order to sort of
Mm.
get them to the point that they're actually interested in having a conversation with you. And the way that your tool lays it all out, to me, is instantly attractive. I almost want to use the word clickbait, because
Good.
when
I
I
mean,
when I saw that little map of my area with those
yeah.
prices on it, I instantly just wanted to go from road to road, check in what's going on, because I have my gut feeling of what these things would be worth as an agent, never mind
Mm.
as a consumer. But I know that Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, as Tom Panos calls them, are sat at home and they obsess sometimes about house pricing, and this is really going to pique their interest. So, with no further ado, the big reveal, please, Mr. Sam.
Thank you. Before we like do what we've been doing for years now and share the screens, I think it's probably fair, and we've had this conversation a little bit throughout this earlier discussion, right? But I think it's pretty fair to say that state agency has become, in many ways, a right move first experience for the consumer. I said this to you the other day. I really liked it, so I decided that that's going to be what I say from now on, if that's okay, because I think that's the reality of it, right? Buyers obviously are on Rightmove always before they're even talking to an estate agent. No one walks in anymore, right? But I think the really important thing to remember for anyone watching this, operating in the market, doing anything like that, is that sellers and landlords are on Rightmove months before they speak to estate agents as well. Like I said to you before, right, there's 2 million households who are looking to buy. Most of them are just on Rightmove. They're not actively talking to agents. They're not getting that trusted guidance that you spoke about earlier, right? And that's why they get to month 6 or month 7 or month 8 and they're like, we've got to go and do something. So they just get 3 out, pick cheapest, which is not the best thing for them, and it's not anywhere near the best thing for you. I'm talking like David from Normie & Co. with his estate agent hat on now, right? So what I'm going to show you guys now is how Homesearch can help make estate agency not just great again, to use our mates' slang, right? But how we can make estate agency a Normie & Co. first experience for all those next sellers, landlords, buyers. Because I think just imagine the difference that it would make to your business if you met every single potential seller like the moment that they decided to move, not
when
6
they
months down the
when
track.
they start their journey, and for anybody who thinks that a consumer journey doesn't start that far in advance, nobody wakes up on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. and go, I've got a budget of
I'd like to get
200,000.
3
I want that
valuations.
house there. I'm going to call
Yeah.
it. Everything that we do nowadays, our consumer journey is pretty much mapped online. So if I'm looking to book a holiday, I'm going to start that search a week, 2 weeks before I book anything. I need to know the destinations. I need to know the prices. I need to know where I'm going. And similarly, when it comes to housing, it's even more detailed. First of all, you've got to work out where you want to live and what price you can afford to go at. And then you've got the job of deciding which agent to actually go with. And it all starts online. It is a slow journey sometimes.
I think so as well. Like our whole fundamental thesis throughout everything we've done at Homesearch is that every seller starts as a buyer. Every landlord starts as a buyer. That's the activity that they have. So if you can capitalize on that, then you get to talk to them earlier in the process. And if you're good, talking to them usually results in business. And I'll stress if you're good or if you care or if you want to do some work. If you just grab an email and never do anything with it, we can't help you. Sorry. Like you'll figure it out elsewhere.
No one can help
right?
you.
So I think that for me, the fundamental thing behind this new product is that we've done everything we possibly can to build something that an agent can use to capture the details of every single potential seller in their market the moment they decide they want to move. So imagine instead of marketing, do you want a free, no obligation market appraisal, right? You might do that in a Facebook ad, you might do that in Google, you might do that in direct mail, you might have an email signature, whatever it is. Imagine if that said, thinking of moving, start your search with us. Now, my developers like take the piss out of me and they use hunters for all of our demo stuff. So you'll just have to imagine that this is your agency if you're watching this, but for today it's demo agent, estate agents. What a good ring to it that has, doesn't it? Right.
I might actually steal that and open up an agent called Demo Agent. So just be careful.
All right. if I can steal what you've given me and that's what you want to steal in return, then I think that's a good deal for me. So thank you.
It's a trade.
Right. So imagine somebody has seen a piece of marketing that is aligned with their behavior, right? So frustrated by seeing nothing on Rightmove or seeing the same 10 properties on Rightmove, whatever it might be, thinking about moving, start your search with us. Anything related to the search, because that's what they're already doing. That's what I'm in Australia at the moment. It's Wednesday night where I am. There's going to be tens of thousands of people around Australia now sitting on their mobile phones watching TV on realestate.com.au who've never engaged with an agent, right? Because they're early in their process and there's nothing compelling enough for them to engage yet. So imagine they click on something that says start your search with us and they come here. One link, no logins, no passwords, no nothing. As an agent, all you've got to do is send it out. You've got to market it to your existing database, going back to my first lesson in real estate, database will die, or you market it. Times get tough, do better marketing, not just more marketing, do better marketing. And they come here and it says search every home in the area you want to live in most, not just what's on Rightmove or Zoopla. And they're like, well, that's pretty interesting. So let's do Prestwich again, just for the sake of everyone's sanity. We want to live in Prestwich, Manchester. Well, the good news is demo agent estate agents or Normie and Co, if David and his business are using this in their market, well, they've got 13,000 options. Now, I can guarantee you if this potential seller or landlord or just a buyer was on Rightmove and they'd search Prestwich, they're not going to get 13,486 options. What's their budget? Well, it's 220 to 300. Would that be fair enough in your area or whatever it might be, or should I change it around?
Yeah, it's the averages have probably increased over the past couple of years, but yeah,
let's punch it up.
That's
325 to 400, whatever it might be.
Awesome.
So instead of there being 13,000, there's now 1,300, right? Where do you want to live, David? What sort of house?
I'd love a detached house for that sort of money, but I'm not sure.
Everybody would say detached house, right? So there's now 339 detached houses. Is there any particular bedrooms that you need?
I need at least 3. I'd love 4 to be comfortable.
Cool. Well, let's do 3 and see where we end up, right? So we got 337. Maybe let's do 4 because miracles can happen. 184 of them. Let's go and have a look. So we are now having a look at Prestwich for a 4-bed detached house up to £400,000. So between 325 and 400,000. Good news. On demo agent estate agents, I got to get a better name for this. On demo agent estate agents database, there's 184 that actually meet your needs, David. So imagine this is the first thing they see. Good news, we've got 184 houses that actually suit you. 175 of them are not actually on Rightmove yet. There one is, and 3 are under offer. Now come back to, I'm a potential seller. I've decided I want to move to Prestwich because, again, buying's aspirational. It's exciting. Selling sucks. It's the last thing we want to do. We want to go and look at what we can buy and go, wow, it's really nice. Should we get organized? I don't know. We'll do it next week. If they're on Rightmove and they see 1 and 3 have already sold, that is not compelling enough for them not just to engage with you at Normie & Co or demo agents, estate agents. There's also, they're not going to compete with the other 4 agents or other 3 agents that are there as well. They're just going to go, we'll wait to see what else comes up. If you can present them with a map of opportunity that gives them 175 options, literally 175 times more than what they're seeing on Rightmove. That only they know about. No other buyers know about it. And it's only through your agent, demo agent, estate agents. Is that compelling enough to engage someone sooner in their process?
I want to draw everybody's attention to that left-hand section of the screen because it is very important, as compelling as the map is. And I love the fact that you can search as you move the map, and we'll get into that in a second. But as compelling as that main course is there in the middle of the screen, if you look on the side dish there, the language that it's using is really important. It's a language of help. You are helping these people. You are offering them a service. It's friendly. You've got the agent's details there at the bottom. If they want to inquire about their own house value, it's all there, but it's not obscuring their search. Hitherto, we've only had one option, which is either hard sell, can I have your details because I want to value your house?
Correct.
Or and then I might give you the value of your own house in some sort of automated search, but we've never been able to dish up both together, and I think this does it really, really nicely.
So we've, with our pro system, our back end, we've been doing this, or agents have been doing this using Homesearch for the last 2 years with genuinely like phenomenal success. They walk into evaluation, someone's thinking about selling, they want an idea on price, and they say, before we talk about price, where do you want to live? And they pull up our pro system, they enter in all their requirements, and it spits out something like this, and they say, we'd be delighted to contact these potential sellers on your behalf. And the person goes, wow, that's cool. And they say, but we should get your place on the market first, or at least get the paperwork signed, because if someone wanted to view your house and they had to sell theirs, you wouldn't let them unless they were on the market, right? And they all nod and go, yep, okay, great. So they get the instruction signed, regardless of whether it goes on Rightmove or not. It's secured at their fee with them, away from their competition, that's the name of the game, particularly if stock is still really tight and the market is tightening. You've got to give great advice, and you've got to make sure you've got control of as much as possible. What this does is that scales that away from an agent having to do it with somebody. It's one link, you can market it, and it allows people to play. Like you said before, they can drag the map around, they can see some cool areas. They don't have to, if they decide they want to zoom right out, and they can do, it's much cooler on a phone, but let's say they want to live in Whitefield.
Yeah.
Right. They don't have to enter Whitefield. They don't have to change their filters like they have to do on some other property search sites. It just works for them. Suddenly there's 71 potential sellers, only one on Rightmove. So 71 times more opportunity. If they want to decide that this one at 332 grand is what they want, they can't see the front of the house. They can't see the internal photos, and they don't get a door number. So it's like the old days. If someone wants to move house, they have to walk in, they have to talk to an estate agent, they have to inquire with you. So when do I want to move?
It's a thing of beauty. I honestly, every time I see it, brings a smile to my face, because as an agent, I know it's going to get that conversation going, and that's all I need.
That's it. So you get, when you want to move, well, I want to move soon. That's my name. That's my phone number. That's my email. I live at 123 Smith Road. So they have the option of giving you, I live in, let's say, Dewsbury. I have no idea where that is, but we'll figure that out. There's the option. You don't force anybody to give you your home address, because you've given them this incredible experience already. We know people give more value when they get more value. So you get their name, their phone number, their email address, and their home address. They tell you when they want to be contacted. So again, you're serving, which is really important to build that trust we were talking about before. They hit submit. It reinforces who that inquiry is going to. So it's got your face, David. That's your real phone number. It's not a tracking number. It goes to your website, and then you can keep doubling down on the value. Smithy Parade. That's a cool street name.
It is cool.
Is it? Hopefully, there's a few. Who was Smithy on? What's that show?
Barry Island. Gavin and Stacey, right?
Yeah, I hope there's a few Gavin and Stacey fans on the show, right? On the call. So they get this, what we call, it's a really sort of simple market update where, yes, there is a bit of a bait of pricing there for them, but there's a nice disclaimer that says it's based on a computer estimate. High level on what's going on in their house. How many properties like theirs are on the market right now? There's 7 prices from 117 to 230. Well, you can see with this wide range, it's important that we see a home firsthand, so we can give you some real advice. Book of Al. It's all your colors. It's all your logos. This directs them back to Jane, a real person, to actually have a proper conversation. How's the market for their house? Well, it's pretty good. Very good, in fact. You know, maybe time on market's blown out a bit. It seems to have extended almost everywhere in the country.
Yep.
But there's only 7 for sale and 15 under offer. So it's still a really good market. So they get all this information on top of an incredible search experience. So by the time you've called them up and said, hey, it's David from Demo Agent Estate Agents, thank you so much. I've got your name, your phone number, your email. I've got your shopping list of the 71 houses that you want to buy. I'm going to do everything I can to talk to all of them on your behalf. Did you have any questions about that guide that I sent you?
So I've got a question for you now after we've seen this. This is superb, and it's impressive every time I see it. But let me ask you what's going to seem like an obvious question. What scares me about prop tech in general, and I'm talking now as an agent, is when you see something that's shiny, you see something that's new, and you think, I have to have that, let's sign up to it. And then I go away and live my busy life elsewhere and do absolutely nothing with it afterwards to follow through.
That sounds familiar.
I've got this lovely search, and it tells them that there's 71 potential houses. They click on it. All I'm interested is getting into their house, and I focus only on that. I'm not delivering the service I promised them, which is potentially I'm going to get through every one of those, or at least some of those 71 doors, and I'm going to approach them. You guys have the solution to that built in. how easy is it in effect to roll that out?
So when you get their inquiry and their shopping list, you click a button, it opens Pro, which is our existing service, and it says, do you want to send all these letters? And you can decide to take out anything you want. So this is already based on owner occupiers. So there's no council, no privately rented in there as well. It's people who haven't bought or sold in the last couple of years, because if you were going to mail all 192 of these, it's a waste of money if they were in there, if there were ones in there who'd moved in the last 6 months. Like, we're not about wasting money. It's about making as much as you can, doing the right things, not necessarily as little as possible, because you're right. I think it's impossible to build the perfect solution to start with. And I think it's also impossible to build something that doesn't require any input from either the agent or the consumer. There are products out there where the agent doesn't have to do anything, but the consumer has to enter in their address, their bedroom numbers. Are they moving? Have they done any renovations or anything like that, just to get a price? And then they hate it anyway. And the consumer does very little here, but the agent has to send that link, and then they have to decide, well, that person's got a house to sell. I probably will prospect on their behalf to, one, win their instruction, and two, get some onward instructions for them as well.
And taking off my agent hat here, I'm just putting on a marketing hat in general, and you could argue that it's one and the same thing. But yeah. Open rates, we sweat about open rates on emails. We sweat about email nurture campaigns. Are they getting enough engagement? Are they clicking in the right place? Nothing beats the open rate of regular posts through your door. Yeah. I don't care what you say. If you write to me, I'm always going to read it. I might not be interested. I might chuck it away, but your open rate is really phenomenal with this sort of stuff. So this weaponized really to go out there and put people together, buyers and sellers, and to start to sort of generate that kind of interest. This to me is invaluable.
On your point of open rates as well. So I agree with you. There's not one piece of mail that comes through my letterbox that I don't open, bill or otherwise, because I'm curious. Like, I don't want to miss anything important, for starters, that might result in someone knocking on my door and taking my house or doing something, right? So I open everything regardless of what it looks like. But imagine I open that letter and it says, Mr. and Mrs. Mintz want to move house. They've just found out their house was $750. They said Yahoo, and they were like, we'll get out in 30 days. Even if they aren't ready to rock and roll then, there's a QR code on that letter that says, and if you want to explore everything that we can help you buy, not just what's on Rightmove and Zoopla, scan your phone here. And it starts this process for them as well. So suddenly digital, what do you want to call it? Like, physical marketing is linked to your digital media and your digital marketing, and you get them in this ecosystem, and you understand who's interested, who's thinking about moving, not necessarily who's thinking about selling, because people always think about the move before the sale. So it's just something to serve your clients better. That helps direct every other penny you spend in your business, and time is tough, right? Everything's getting more expensive at the moment. So if you can understand who to talk to and when to talk to, and a lot of it is done digitally, which is very affordable, what's your oyster?
It's breathtaking. It's useful. It works, more importantly. It's not just a pretty picture that you presented today. You've actually changed the area, and it moved with you, and you could continue to do that around that map. And I think this is a curiosity for a prospective seller or buyer. If you're just curious and sort of seeing where you can buy in your local area, I would stay on this map for probably an hour or so, and I'd maybe find some areas that I've never even considered before. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at this now, where I've just moved our map around, so there's 8,990 homes across this huge area, but we've just calculated that out of that 9,718, 8,990 match your needs and fit the criteria that we've set in the back end, but only 53 of them are for sale. 140 of them are under offer. So the reason why, of those 2 million people who want to move house every year, right, when most of them actually need to sell something before they move, that's why they're not talking to agents, because there's a perception that there's nothing out there. But the reality is there's loads out there for them. And if an agent can help them find the needle in those haystacks, the agent wins their instruction, because they're the motivated ones. That's the instant win. The prospecting comes next.
And if I were to turn around to you as an agent and ask you how much you're willing to pay for a potential instruction or a potential valuation, I can guarantee it'd be more than the cost of a postage. on one envelope or one letter. So it's fantastic value, and it's something that with consistency I think really pays off. And if I was an agent that had this in my area, I know exactly how I'd market it, and I'd drive as much traffic to this as possible. And you know, there's always that ongoing conversation with agents about whether or not we should be driving traffic to the portals. What you're saying is, yeah, look, properties are available on the portals, but just look at the figures there. I mean, just in that very small patch that you've got there on the screen, 81 potential sellers, there's only one available on the open market, right? So that's the landscape in which we're operating in. And I think if you can offer to unlock all these extra gems, my word, I don't know anybody that's not going to be interested in having a conversation with you about it. So, mighty impressive.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop saying positive things now in case people think you paid me.
Yeah.
It is truly, you know, not very often you come across a solution like this, but it's all there and it works straight out of the box. And I would encourage anybody to have a chat with Sam, and your team are incredibly helpful. You've got some real superstars on there as well, but they all know what they're doing, and they all have that agent background, which is superb. So definitely well worth a chat. And thank you, Sam. I know you've got a rush to kind of do this great reveal.
Do this all over again.
Team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With our team. Yeah. Celebrate it. And then
So,
hopefully finish the last bit off.
Well, thank you for bringing us up to date. It's tremendous.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And like, yeah, you've been a massive help the last couple of days and just going through a few different thoughts. So thank you right back.
With pleasure. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you.